Assalamualaikum and good morning to all my students. And for today's lecture, we're going to look at the balance of chapter 1. And as you can see from this slide class, these are the levels, the 3 levels of information needs in the professional world. Okay, the first one is information that is relevant to the field of work. Okay, you as a faculty of information management students class, you will be given a task and assignment to complete it, and therefore you need to access to those information that is pertaining to your task. Okay, meaning that you only access information within the field of library and information science. Okay, the second one is information that is relevant to organization. Okay, as a UITM lecture class here, I need to access or obtain information that is pertaining to my organization, which is UITM, yeah, and not other universities, because it is not related to my job scope. Okay, and the third one is information that is irrelevant to their field of work. It is okay class here for us to access information which is totally different from our field of work. Okay, for example, you can obtain information in terms of the entertainment, yeah, current trends about the field of tourism, about the sports, yeah, and as long as this information is good, as long as this information is beneficial and can add to your knowledge, your existing knowledge. Okay, next, the need to access information. Okay, so why we need to access those information? Why we require information less? It is because every information has its value and useful to us. Okay, meaning that this information class is worth, is a practicality and usefulness to our daily life, yeah, to our assignment, to our task, yeah. We use this information because it can solve problems and it can be used in decision making. Okay, the second one, we require or we need access to information because every information has its importance. Okay, so meaning that this information is significant, okay, and important for us. Okay, and the third one is because information production involve cost. Okay, for your information class, yeah, in order to produce an information, in order to make an information class, yeah, the raw data itself need to be synthesized, need to evaluated, and therefore this procedure class, yeah, involve cost. So that is why we need to grab those information because it involves cost, yeah. And the last one is we require information because of information explosion scenario. Okay, as we already mentioned during our last class, yeah, information explosion is when there is an abundance of data, okay, or a rapidly increasing amount of published information. Okay, so that is why class we need to grab those information, okay, as it is regarding the published information class. When we talk about the published information, it is good information. Okay, however, it can turn out to be information overload due to inability, yeah, for us to handle um, the increasing amount, yeah. We fail to organize those information. Okay, so that is why when there is an information explosion scenario, we need to grab those information, yeah, because there is a choices of information that you can choose among the abundance of information, which is good. In order to access to those information classes, we sometimes will confront with barriers or problems. Okay, the first one is government or departmental policies. Okay, and this one is same with the point number 10, different political viewpoints. So meaning that it is a rule, it's a rule principles which contains the reason things are to be done in a certain way and why. So problems to access those informations tu is based on the principles of the government pada ketika itu. Okay, next we move to the physical barriers. Physical barriers, we have lots of meaning, yeah, when it comes to physical barriers, guys. Yeah, the first one is the environmental, the surrounding condition. Okay, the environment surrounding or the environment condition that act as a barrier in delivering the information. Okay, mungkin noise, yeah, that distort the message, or and other context of physical barriers is people with disabilities. Okay, so people with disabilities ni, it's difficult for them lah to access to those information. Yeah, and then we have information resources poorly organized or unorganized. Okay, so we need to have a set of skills, yeah, in order to organize this information so that this information can facilitate access, senang, yeah, to streamline the users to access those information. Poorly organized and unorganized ni, examples lah, in database lah. Okay, in database, the informations that reside in this database, dia tak ada nama author, dia tak ada apa tahun, and it is difficult for us as a users, class, to facilitate access ataupun to search for the resources that that embedded in the database. Next, we have language barriers. This is pertaining to different languages lah, yeah, different language, and difficult of communication. Okay, illiteracy is lack of skills. Okay, you have no information literate, meaning that you don't know how to find those information, you don't know how to differentiate between the good or the poor information. Okay, and fee for accessing information, yang ini sama with the point number 8 lah, yeah. Okay, so in order to access those information, guys, yeah, you need to have financial, you need to have a sum of money in order to obtain those information. Okay, for your information, class, yeah, some of the library in public library or other organizations that keep those information, class, yeah, sometimes their service is based on fee. Okay, fee based service, meaning that if you want to look up for information, then you need to pay certain numbers of fees in order to get those information. Okay, and next we have copyright, class, yeah. Copyright is intellectual property, meaning that those information is being copyrighted. Okay, therefore once it has been copyrighted, therefore it is difficult for us, to have the right to copy. So you can ada right to copy, baru you can access to those information. As you can see from this slide, class, these are the sources of information or evidence which we categorize it into primary, secondary, or tertiary materials. Alright, and in order to determine if a source is primary, secondary, or tertiary, it can be very tricky, guys. Therefore, this slide will find descriptions on these three categories of information and examples to help you make a determination. Okay, the first one we have primary. So primary in class, it is a first time or original materials. Okay, so basically this primary source display original thinking, report on new discoveries, or share fresh information. Okay, so among the examples of primary sources, which is thesis, yeah, dissertation, some government reports, okay, and letters, diaries, interviews. Okay, so these are the examples of primary sources, which is shown for the first time or original idea or work. Okay. And next we have secondary source. Okay, so these work which summarize, interpret, reorganize, or otherwise provide an added value to a primary source. Okay, this secondary source is a reference to primary information, yeah, and original information which has been modified class. Okay, so among the examples of secondary sources is a textbook, yeah, books, and articles and other examples lah. Alright, and the last one is tertiary class. Yeah? So what is tertiary class? Tertiary is information that has been through the process of cataloging and classification. So the keyword here is distillation. Distillation maksudnya we refine the source, yeah? We filter the source. Okay, so this tertiary source ni, distillation, refine, filtering that I mentioned just now is a repackage ideas or repackage of information. Okay, and among the examples of these tertiary sources, we have indexing, we have abstracting, and so forth. Now we recap back the sources of information. The first one is primary sources. So these primary sources, it is information that is shown for the first time, or original materials, or original idea, or original work. Okay, and these primary source classes display original thinking, new discoveries, and fresh information, yeah, which is not translated by anyone else or published elsewhere. So these are the examples of primary source. We have letters, the scientific discovery, collecting data or collect data or combine data, oral interview, and original artwork. So what is secondary source class? Secondary source is an information that are repacked, yeah? And this source is the interpretation from the primary information. The examples of secondary source, we have textbook, encyclopedias, yearbooks, commentaries, and article in a serial. Tertiary source consists of information which is a distillation and collection of primary and secondary source. Okay, so tertiary sources is a repackaged ideas or repackaged information. So these types of source class here consists of information that we have already refined, filtering. Okay, so these are the examples of tertiary: indexes, abstract, and catalogs, and others uh, related or falls under this tertiary. Next, we take a look at the forms or format of information. So meaning that the way the information is arranged or set out, or the way the information is being arranged, yeah, or put into a format. So this is what we call as a format. Okay, so the way in which information is arranged, yeah, can be divided into three ways. The first one, information in a printed material, information in non-printed material, and information in an electronic or online material. Okay, so the printed material is a book, newspaper, monograph, article, etc. Okay, so this information can be arranged in a book, newspaper, monograph. So monograph is a book, articles. Okay, next we have a non-printed material. So this referring to microfiche and microfilm. So basically class, yeah, microfiche and microfilm is the same. Yeah, is the same thing. Microfiche and microfilm is a piece of film which contain the micro photographs, of the pages of a newspaper, catalog, or other documents. Okay, so basically class, yeah, we have a newspaper, we have the printed newspaper, okay, and then we convert it into a piece of film. Okay, so this piece of film ni yang kecil-kecil tu, dia contain a photograph, a micro photograph of a newspaper, okay, of a catalog or other documents. Okay, so in order to view this microfiche and microfilm, you need to have the equipment, you need to have the computers, okay, to navigate this microfiche and microfilm. So this equipment, we call it as a microform. Next, we have electronic or online material class. Yeah? So these are the things that we use nowadays, yeah, since we have the information super highway. Okay, uh, it consists of multimedia documents, e-database, e-newspaper, e-journal, email, all the electronic means class, yeah, websites, yeah, and etc. Okay, so the question here, how or what methods that we are going to use in order to access the information. So we can use two methods, two ways. Okay, the first one is manually and the second one is online. So what is manual class? Yeah? Manual means off the hand. Okay, so we need to use the printed, yeah, all the printed tools to locate the information, right? And then we have online. Okay, so this is the method whereby we use all the electronic means, yeah, all the electronic tools such as CD-ROM, bibliographic database, internet, etc., yeah, for the purpose to locate the information, right? So what is bibliographic database, guys? Yeah, as I mentioned before, this bibliographic database is examples of bibliographic database is an OPAC, yeah, electronic journals, online database. So this is bibliographic database. Okay, class, this is the benefits and drawbacks of ways to access to information. Okay, so the first one, we have the benefits of online. Okay, the online information accession is faster, meaning that you will get this information ataupun by having these online methods, yeah, it is capable of moving those information at a high speed. Okay, next we have information which is up to date. You will get the latest or newest ideas, newest information. All right, next we have systematic. This method, this online method is more systematic because it is according to a fixed plan. Okay, this method, it is more structured and methodically, tersusun kelas, but the drawbacks of having this online as a method or as a way to access the information is when we face electronic failure or system down happens. So ini masalah dia. Okay, next we have manual. So in order to use this manual as a way to access to information, guys, you need to use the printed materials. Okay, you need to use the printed materials in order to obtain or access those information. Okay, so manual, as I mentioned just now, manual means of the hand. Okay, so you need to find for a information which is in the form of printed material. Okay, and the last one is the drawbacks of the manual is time consuming. Yeah? So what is time consuming lah? Time consuming maksudnya lambat. Okay, memerlukan masa lah to search for this information because you are using the printed material. You kena select satu persatu page. Users concerns over access to information, meaning that we as a user class, we are worried over access to information. We are so afraid, pertaining or related to the access to information. Okay, so our worry is about access time and access fees. Okay, so access time is the time taken to retrieve data from storage. Berapa kadar cepat those information can be retrieved. And the access fees is a charge made for the use of computer or library facilities. So this is our worry lah, whether if we use those services ada tak charges fees being imposed. Alright, and then total freedom. Okay, total freedom, the second one is our concern is pertaining to fast and easy access to information. Okay, meaning that to what extent this information is capable of moving at a high speed. Sejauh manakah dia cepat? Okay, next we want to have a total freedom to access information. So when we are talking about the total freedom, meaning that there is no constraint of whatsoever, no constraint of choice. We as a user are more independent toward the ways we want to access to those information. Okay, and the last one is we want to minimize the barrier of access to information. So barrier means all the obstacles, halangan that keeps user difficult in accessing those information. Alright, so these are the concerns over access to information. In conclusion, guys, by having this development of information superhighway, now it able to distribute a large amount of information than before, which has triggered the demand for information among the users. Okay, so this information class, information superhighway, is a term that refers to digital communication system, the internet, the telecommunication, the network, all the technology means that providing interactive services such as email, such as audio, video, sources that can be accessed through computers. Okay, therefore this information superhighway, it helps us as users making an intelligent choice from among several activities, and it is hoped to have a maximum access to their needed, meaning that the user to the users needed information. Alright class, as you can see from this slide class, this is your tutorial task for this week. Okay, so you need to choose only one questions below and write an essay in about 450 words, not more than 450 words. Okay, so the question number 1, information explosion and information overload are tangled. So meaning that these two terms is a bit confused. What are the causes, implications, and solutions of these information problems? Okay, make sure you have the introduction part, what is information explosion and what is information overload, and the difference between these two terms. Okay, the second one, you need to have a main points or the body of points. So this is when where you explain the causes, implication, and solutions for each of these two terms. Okay, and the last part is conclusion. So you need to summarize your essay in a concise manner. Okay, the second question is discuss any 4 barriers in accessing information in order to fulfill the user's information need. Okay, so refer back to to our previous notes regarding the barriers. Okay, and same goes with the question number 1. You need to define what is the barriers in accessing information. What is the barriers, class? Okay, halangan. Alright, so this one you put under introduction part, and then we have also the main points, the 4 barriers. So you need to explain each of the barriers in the main point section, and the last one, the last part is the conclusion. So you need to recap back, or you need to summarize the barriers in accessing information. Okay, and make sure you submit it on GC in a PDF format, class, and you need to submit on GC this coming Thursday, class. Okay, all right, what else? Okay, I think that's all for now, class. If you have any questions to ask, you can always ask or text me personally, or you can ask me at our group WhatsApp. Okay, and if you have any difficulties or you confronted with any masalah or whatsoever, please let me know, class. Okay, kalau you tak bagi tahu saya pun tak tahu apa masalah you. Alright, okay, with that, thank you and Assalamualaikum.